Did I make a mistake in buying a Mk2 over a Mk1? Car Obsession is proudly supported by Carly and Draggy. Check out the video description to find out the latest discount codes. Hello guys and welcome back to Car Obsession. As you can see, I'm joined by not one but two SEAT Leon Cupras. Well, to be fair, this is a Cupra R, but you get my point. And yes, for some of you, this video is a long time coming, but I'm finally putting these two cars head to head. As these are hot hatches, it seems only natural to start off with the engines. Now they are fairly similar in the fact that they are both 4-cylinder petrols that are aided by a K04 turbocharger. The Mk1 has 1.8 litres though of displacement, whereas the Mk2 has 2 litres. When it comes to power, the Mk1 has 210 horsepower along with 270 Newton meters of torque. As you would expect, the Mk2 is better than that. It offers 240 horsepower along with 300 Newton meters of torque. Now when it comes to performance, this will hit 62 miles per hour in 7.2 seconds, whereas yes, of course, this is faster, this will do it in 6.4. The Mk2 will continue to a top speed of 154, whereas the Mk1 will continue to a top speed of 147. So on paper, these cars are relatively close in regards to performance, but we don't drive on paper, so what are these cars like on the tarmac? Okay, and away we go. Now you may have spotted a wild Pocket Rockets has appeared.
Hello everybody!
Yes, he has very kindly dedicated his Sunday to helping me film, and it's about 25 degrees in the UK today, so I'm sure you had better things to do, like sit in the beer garden, but no, he's come to help me film.
I've had the guns out today, getting some tan, so...
I think they're water pistols, aren't they?
Yeah.
To be fair, water pistols now would be a really good idea, wouldn't it?
Yeah, or a paddling ball, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So yes, so Chris has driven both cars, so he's going to be giving some input as well. So now, as I mentioned, this is of course the slower car. This is the AMK engine. Now the facelifted version had the BAM engine, which had a bit more horsepower and was therefore faster.
Was BAM like short for when you see a piston come out of the bonnet and goes BAM? Or is it just ironic that they called it that, or is it just a coincidence?
I think so. I'm pretty sure it's a coincidence.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to check there, mate. Just wanted to check.
So with the Mk1, although it's got
BAM, like Jesus.
Although it's got the the K04 turbocharger, there is a bit of lag, so you do need to wait for it to kind of spool up a bit. And by today's standards, as a hot hatch, it's not overly fast. It's not slow. It's just let's get it straight. If you were in a standard Leon, in this Mk1 standard Leon, you definitely notice a difference. Oh yeah, of course.
I have to say that I feel a bit like cruel doing this twin test, comparing this against your Leon, even though your Leon's mapped, but we're taking that out of the equation. Yeah. It still feels wrong to compare them because the Mk2 is leaps and bounds on this car, just from the get-go, just performance alone. And I'd say that's actually a good thing, because it shows you that SEAT actually did something right. It's an evolution, it progressed. Exactly.
Now, one thing this car has that the Mk2 doesn't is hydraulic steering.
Yeah.
It does give you a proper old school feeling for the steering, but the downside is, as I'm sure you will agree, Chris, it's quite numb, it's quite vague.
I think it doesn't help because of the age of the thing.
No, exactly.
It's seen better days. It's like anyone that works in an industry for years and years, they get to a point when they get tired and then their job starts to get less and less involved, and it doesn't quite do what it's meant to do anymore.
Yeah. But one thing I will say from the get-go with the Mk1 is that this has got, well, to my knowledge, this is a standard shifter.
Yeah, I said to you I thought it was aftermarket, because obviously you got aftermarket and the Mk2, but it's impressive, isn't it?
The stock gear change of the Mk1 compared to the Mk2 is definitely better. It feels more precise, it feels more mechanical. Okay, the throat is a bit long, but I found that on my Mk2, before I fitted the Forge Motorsport to short shifter, I found the change to be a little bit cumbersome. It wasn't quite as snickety, if that's even a word.
And it doesn't end there because the pedals feel great as well.
Oh yeah, that's one great thing about that's one of the many great things about the Mark 1 is the weight of the pedals. They feel very old school. They feel industrial. It's almost like they've been designed by Brunel. It's
like when I got it in earlier, I had to actually look down at the pedals. I thought I was pressing the brake because the clutch was so solid, wasn't it?
The clutch, it is quite a heavy clutch. So if you're going to be driving this as a daily, you may want to.
You do have to
factor that in.
Absolutely nuts of it.
Yeah, it is of course turbocharged, but in some respects it almost feels a bit NA.
Yeah.
Because you do kind of have to.
It's not a bad thing to do, really, is it?
Oh no, it's not.
It's great fun.
But the 6-speed, it's got a lovely change to it. Now, when it comes to handling, you can definitely tell there is an evolution, as Chris said earlier, because the Mark 1 is okay in the corners, no real complaints, but it's more rolly than I was expecting. Now, it's not exactly the lightest of cars.
But again, if you were to drive a car, another car like a hot hatch from this era, I can't imagine it being any better.
Well, let's face it, this is bound to be better than the Mark IV Golf GTI.
It looks better.
I think when it comes to looks, if we're comparing the Mark 1 to the Mark II Leon Cupra, as much as I've grown to appreciate the looks of the Mark II, which is designed by Water to Silver, the Mark 1, which is designed by, I have to get the pronunciation right, Giorgetto Giugiaro, a very poor pronunciation, but you know who Giugiaro is, surely. The Mark 1 just looks so much better, in my opinion.
It's aged very well.
Agreed.
Aged like fine wine.
Yes.
Not so much the interior.
No.
But you can let them off because, again, I can't imagine any car of this era looking good inside.
No.
They tend to look great on the outside, but not so much in the inside.
Yeah, it's an early noughties car, but you can argue this is almost like a 90s interior.
Yeah.
To be fair, the interior on my MX5 isn't that much more worse than this.
But
that's older.
But although we both agree that it ain't the best looking thing inside, it's held up very well. I'm even surprised.
Yeah.
Like every single button in here is not lost its text, its white text around there. It's all looks like it's just come out of the factory.
Now let's speak about the ride. The ride is
firm.
It's firm, but more compliant than I was expecting. Apart from when we hit that pothole, whatever that is back there. Well, I almost broke my back.
Yeah, no, and I think it helps with the seats. Now, the seats again aren't much to look at. Okay, they've got the nice little R to denote that we are in a Cupra R, but they are very comfortable. And on a long journey, I bet they will be bliss. But unfortunately, in this scenario on the B roads, they could be more supportive, couldn't they?
Definitely, yeah. The bolsters are quite chunky, but I think the problem is the bolsters are quite chunky down here, but they need to go a bit higher. So it's kind of getting your shoulder blades, so it's keeping your shoulders.
And I would say on the driver's side, especially on this car, they have seen better days.
Yeah,
they are starting to wear a bit, but it's still got plenty of strength in them. But yeah, just
no tears in them though, which is
surprising. Yeah. But again, comparing it to the Mark II, the seats in the Mark II are great. I love them. Even if you're in the back seat and you're looking at them from in front of you, they're just a great little bit of
kit. They're so much better on a B road. Even on the track, they're not too bad.
Yeah. And although the Mark II seats are a bit firmer, they're still comfortable enough for you to do long distances without a complaint.
I know you've only driven the car briefly, but what have your impressions been? So they may differ from mine.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really got the chance to drive like some of the early like late 90s hot hatches and stuff.
Yeah.
But I can get the resemblance from this, just driving this, like the lag from the turbo. Yeah. Even though it runs the same turbo as the Mark II, you wouldn't. If you didn't tell me that, I would have said, "Oh, this is a prehistoric turbo. It doesn't feel anything like the KO4, but it's okay because I can understand that this car is 20 years old, so it's never going to have the performance of cars like the Mark II or even modern hot hatches like, well, there's a few Aston Martins that went past there. It's an experience in itself.
Yeah, and it's not as if it's lost loads of power, because I've had this on a rolling road, and this particular car is pushing out 200, so it's only lost 10 horsepower since it left the factory, which is really impressive, bearing in mind I don't think this car's been looked after as well as it could have been by previous owners, which is a pity.
Yeah.
So the Mark 1s are tiny cars.
Yeah, and I mean, like, just looking at it as well, like, it's a nice thing to look at. And I don't actually see many of these on the road. Yes, okay, they're older now, but again, I don't even see Mark 2s on the road that much as well.
I see more Mark 1s on the road than Mark 2s, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen one in where I live, Mark 1, but other than that, you don't see them. They're just... And it's a shame, really, because I think even today, Seats are so underrated. And really, even the Mark III is a good-looking car.
Yeah.
It's better looking than the Golf in that generation too.
Yeah.
So it's really amazing.
And the great thing about the SEAT Leon is that you're essentially getting a sportier Golf that's cheaper.
Yeah.
And you think, why wouldn't you?
Well, in these, both the Mark 1 and Mark 2 generations, they've both been faster than the Golfs in their generation, haven't they?
Exactly.
Which is quite crazy to think, considering that Volkswagen is the head honcho of the group.
Yeah.
I do like that induction.
Yeah, it is good.
Definitely a noticeable difference in the performance department.
So, of course, we're now in the Mark II. Now, yeah, I may have said that this would have 240 horsepower along with 300 newton meters of torque. But some Leon Cupras were created a bit less equally than others, shall we say. So, yes, Leo, my Mark II, has got a stage 1 AMD tuning remap, meaning he's now pushing out 332 horsepower along with 454 newton meters of torque. Now, in case you're not a mathematician, in regard to the horsepower, that's 90 more than before, 90, and that is an increase of around 72%. Just madness. Now, as you can expect from the get-go, Leo feels fast, he's more responsive, and for some of you that will say, oh, it's not a fair test because it's not standard. Well, I have driven this car standard, and I can tell you, when the Mark II was standard, even then it felt more responsive than the Mark I. Another thing I'd say is that it felt more composed in the corners, but we get onto some corners in a little bit. Like the Mark I, power is fed to the front wheels via a 6-speed manual gearbox. I have a Forged Motorsport short shift in this car, which is just as well because the standard change in the Mark II isn't the greatest. I would say the Mark I is better in that department. Now, we spoke about pedal weight and so forth. The pedals in this car are definitely lighter. When I put the clutch down, when I jumped into my Mark II, I thought, oh God, I forgot how light it was. But the pedals still have a nice weight to them. It's a Nissan Pulsar GTR.
Oh, very nice.
No, so GTIR.
Oh, this thing is ridiculous, isn't it?
Lordy. Anyway, as I was saying, yes, the pedals still feel firm, but not quite as firm or as meaty as the Mark I. Now, the steering is not hydraulic, it's fully electric,
yeah.
Which you may think is a bad thing, but okay, the steering is still a little bit vague in this car, but it's sharper, it's more responsive, and if I'm honest, it is better. And that may sound mad to say when talking about a hydraulic setup in the Mark I. Yes, I have lost some road feedback and steering feeling, but yeah, this is definitely more direct. I've got a better idea of what's going on. What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
Yeah, I'd have to agree as well. Although you do lose a little bit more, you don't have to worry about it as much over time when the car gets older. It's still going to be the same no matter what. So yeah, it is. It's still not great, but it's. I've had worse on that one. Fords especially, Fords. Don't know what's wrong with new Fords these days. Their steering's terrible. Apart from the Mustang Mk1 that we drove recently, that was really good.
So through the corners, this is a better car even before modifications, because the body roll is better controlled, it's more composed. Again, like the Mk1, it isn't the most fun in the corners when we're talking stock form. I've dabbled around a few bits. This is on iBark lowering springs, and yeah, it is more entertaining in the corners, particularly when you've got all that power on tap to help fire you out of the apex. And yeah, this is definitely the better handling car, even without modifications. Because we've got so much more torque, overtaking cyclists is a doddle. The only downside is the poor traction control doesn't know what to do with all this extra power. So sometimes it's actually better to drive with the traction control off, because that way it can have a rest, and then it doesn't need to worry about anything. Yet through the corners, the Mk2 is definitely better. The brakes perform stronger. These aren't Brembo brakes, but they still perform well. I would say they feel a bit over-assisted though. It was almost like the servo has been turned up too high.
Yeah.
And you
could get these with Brembo, or was that a Cupra R that was, you could get a Brembo brake kit with.
So you can get Brembo pads and discs for this, but when this was made, from what I've read on forums, you never know whether it's true, apparently the Brembo brakes that were originally developed for this car, the discs kept warping apparently.
Okay.
So I think this is an ATE setup, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, okay.
But the brakes do perform better, but you have to get used to them because the feedback is a bit weird. They are over-assisted. Now I do have a Revo induction kit fitted to this car, which you may hear in the background. It sounds awesome, although it was a faff to fit. I've got a Cobra non-resonated Catback exhaust. Now when it comes to standard versus standard, the Mk1 in my opinion definitely sounds better compared to the Mk2. The Mk2, it sounded okay, but it was very subtle. Whereas the Mk1 exhaust, even the standard one, it's got a nice grumble to it, it's got a nice kind of burble. Whereas the Mk2, it sounded okay, but yeah, I'm so glad I've got an aftermarket system on the back now.
Oh no, I did hear. I was there when you picked this up, but I never really recorded exhaust. It just shows you like how properly muted it was.
Yeah.
Definitely handles better, doesn't it? Oh.
Yeah. So on this car, I've got a Goodyear Eagle F1 Super Sport tyres, which I'm actually testing for Goodyear, which is very good. And yeah, I can definitely say that they perform very well, particularly on a nice hot day like today. Now there is still a bit of body roll through the corners, but not to the extent that the Mk1 had. Now the ride, we haven't spoken about that yet. The ride in this car is a bit more jiggly, a bit firmer. I'd say the Mk1 is maybe more compliant.
Yeah.
A bit more comfortable. But I much prefer these seats because they hold you in place so much better, as we touched upon earlier.
Good looking things as well.
Oh, they look phenomenal. Yeah. So much better than the standard seats in the Mk1. But yes, down here, I can definitely feel my body being jostled a bit more. Kind of my torso is kind of pogoing in a bit. But that comes with the benefit of improved handling, so I don't mind that. So I would say when it comes to what I prefer in the Mark 1, I'd say the styling for sure.
Yeah.
The gear change.
Yeah. Well, and the pedal feel, and the
exactly.
gear shift.
The gear change is better on my Mark 2 now, but that's thanks to the short shift.
Cheating again, and you love to cheat, mate, didn't you?
Ow.
Cheat the system. Don't blame you though.
The stock sound is better with the Mark 1.
Yeah.
Mark 2 is more refined, easier to live with, better features.
It's more modern. There's more modern touches in here.
Engine's more responsive. It's better in the corners.
Yeah.
So both cars.
It's probably a more economical car as well if you're interested in that.
Yeah.
Over the Mark 1.
So both cars have their pros and cons, and I'm lucky enough to say that I currently own both, although my Mark 1 will be going up for sale quite soon. In fact, it might have already been sold by the time you watch this video. If it isn't, then feel free to make me an offer.
£10. Hold out your hand!
But yeah, overall, as we come to the end of our drive on this wonderfully hot day in the UK, I think it's easy to say I do prefer the Mark II. I still love the Mark 1. I've loved the Mark 1 for many years, and like I say, I was close to buying one.
Yeah, and I think with that, it cemented your choice as this was the better choice.
Yeah.
When you were looking at Mark 1. I think you were scared more with the reliability, it being an older car, but I mean you've obviously had to do a bit of work to yours because yours wasn't the greatest of examples. But driving around with it, I wouldn't have thought that there was loads wrong with it if you didn't tell me. It's held together quite well.
I say one thing to bear in mind if you're going for a Mark 1 as opposed to a Mark 2 is availability of certain parts because of the age of it. Certain parts are.
And you work in a garage.
Yeah, certain parts are nigh on impossible to get hold of. So, key example, the jacking point covers, which I have 3 out of the 4 for that car at the moment, although none of them are fitted. They're like hen's teeth to find. One of the door seals is damaged, and I can't get one of those. That would have to be custom made, I suppose. The
about the caliper as well.
Offside rear brake caliper, that wasn't available from SEAT directly, so I had to get an aftermarket unit, which isn't the end of the world, but I would have liked to have a Brembo just so they all matched, because that has Brembo brakes. I think did I make a mistake in buying a Mark II over a Mark 1? No. I like the Mark 1. I'm happy to say I've enjoyed it. I'm thankful that I have done. But I think this is the better car, particularly even more so. That's been tuned. But guys, I'd love to hear your opinions. Have you owned both cars like I have, or have you owned a Mark 1 or a Mark 2? And I'd love to hear your experiences. If you've got any questions or queries, then be sure to fire them in the comment section. I will answer you as quickly as I can and to the best of my ability. A massive thank you to Chris for him helping me film today, because I don't know if you've tried, but it's quite difficult to drive 2 cars at once.
Yeah.
So that's what's caused this video to be so delayed. So I need the help to get both cars at the same place at the same time. But yes, if you have enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time, guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession, and don't forget to check out Bucket Rockets and those two car guys. But until the next time, guys, we'll see you soon. Bye for now.